Taking the right steps to prevent credit damage during a divorce is crucial. The issue of joint debt, the debt that is incurred while together, doesn't go away once a divorce is finalized. It's important to confront the debts you share while the divorce is being settled.
People come in, they're going through a divorce, they hire me to represent them, and they come to me often already having incurred joint debt with their spouse. And at the time they come in and they're going through their divorce, or they're asking me to help them go through their divorce, by then I'm very limited with what I can do to help them deal with that joint debt. The best example is the house. They come in often, they've got a house together, and they're jointly obligated on their mortgage. A very common scenario is one person wants the house, and more often than not, the other party will say, that's fine, keep the house, and then we have to deal with that joint debt. Sometimes the party keeping the house is able to refinance that joint debt to remove the other spouse's name from the debt, and in that case, we're good to go. We don't have to worry about the party keeping the house defaulting on that obligation and damaging the other guy's credit rating. More often than not, however, we have situations where the bank isn't going to refinance the party keeping the house, and maybe there's not enough equity, or maybe the parties have already somehow damaged their credit rating. Maybe there's not enough income. So for whatever reason, we can't get the guy keeping the house or the wife keeping the house refinanced to remove the other party's name. So what do we do in that scenario? Well, the judge in the family law case does not have the power to order the bank to release the spouse that's not keeping the debt. So we're stuck, essentially. So the best thing, there's some things that we try to do. One of the things we do is we put language in the judgment that requires the party keeping the house to make timely payments on that mortgage debt, and to not do anything that will damage the other party's good name and credit rating. We use hold harmless language, which basically says that if that party defaults on the loan obligation, and that the other party ends up having to make payment on that obligation, that the non-offending party can go back after the person who was supposed to be making that payment and seek reimbursement for that obligation. Now, it probably sounds like none of those are great solutions, and I can tell you they're not great solutions, but in some cases that's the best that we can do.
Wendy DeVozo, an attorney with the McCurdy, Wotilla & Porteous law firm, explains that going through a divorce entails a lot of work from both parties to prevent trouble down the road.
So when at all possible, we try to discharge joint debt at the time that we're going through a divorce and exploring settlement. When we can't, those are the types of solutions that we're stuck with. With smaller debts, things like credit cards, when we're able, I usually will advise a client to discharge those debts. So if we're selling a piece of property, for example, and we're going to have some money, and there's a credit card balance laying out there, usually I will throw out the idea, or sometimes opposing counsel and I will throw out the idea, discharge that joint debt before you divide the proceeds. And sometimes they don't care about their credit rating, but people that do, maybe want to be able to buy a house later on, that are concerned about that credit score, we look to do things like discharge joint debt, because once that divorce judgment's filed and that settlement's negotiated and time goes on, you have no control over what that other party does.
In trying to avoid an unexpected or unwanted outcome, One thing you can do is run a credit report during the pendency of the divorce just to get an overview of what's all out there.
Sometimes people come in and they say, well, gee, I don't really know what credit cards my husband or my wife had, or one I get a lot is, he or she always like to sign my name and take out credit cards, and I don't really know what's out there. And believe it or not, that happens a lot. So, and when I hear that, I always tell people, go run a credit report, or go to your bank, or I can help you run, figure out how to run a credit report. Let's see what's out there. Let's see what debt has to be serviced or what surprises there might be, and let's deal with those issues now, because once that judgment's entered and time goes by, there might be some surprises, and we want to know what's happening, or we want to know what's out there now, so we can deal with it now.
Another helpful action to manage joint debt while the divorce is pending is to close all shared credit card accounts completely.
If there's a credit card out there, maybe it doesn't have a balance now, maybe it's joint in both the husband and wife's name. It might be sitting at a zero balance right now, but once a divorce is filed and people start to feel panicky and maybe feel a little bit broke, it's more expensive to run two households, it's very easy for credit card balances to start running up quickly. So one of the things I will tell people is any joint credit cards out there that, whether they're zero or not, close those out. Close them out so they can't be charged, so that you can't incur any further charges at this point, so that you can at least manage what you have now and can't incur anything further. And that's another way to at least cut it off and avoid incurring other surprise debt that you didn't anticipate.
With My News 26, I'm Abigail Blackrick.